bọ́jọ́ bá pẹ́ títí ọjọ́ àgbìn o bọ́nà bá jìnnà jìnnà àdópin o àti sáré àdópin aré àmàtìjìyà àdópin ìyà o àti sunsun àti kan ògiri ó má di gbẹ̀yìn kọ́ lọ́tẹ̀ ìmọ̀ o bẹ́ẹ̀ ni o.
ilé òní gbóná kárẹ́nu omi kọ́lé ayé òní kóró kálọ̀ dífá ọ̀run o láyé náà la ó wà títà ó fi ṣẹ́gun lójú àwọn ọlọ́tẹ̀ ẹkún àkọjá òkùnkùn ájímọ́lẹ̀ fáwa ọmọ Yorùbá ọjọ́ ayọ̀ súnmọ́lé o.
Ó di láéláé pọ́n gbá ó mà di láéláé pọ́n gbá Yorùbá ò ní dọ̀bálẹ̀ ẹ̀fẹ́ nìkan ó di gbẹ̀yìn kọ́ lọ́tẹ̀ ìmọ̀ o.
yé ẹ dìde dìde bí ológun ẹ bá jàgà sílẹ̀ o ẹ rántí àtọmọdọ́mọ kò ní sún wa kò ní rẹ̀ wá tá ó fi ṣẹ́gun tẹni tó dé ó sàn ju ẹni tirẹ̀ ń bọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ò ní ní dúró kẹ́dúró gbọ̀n kẹ́dúró gbọ̀n kẹ́dúró gbọ̀n 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 àtùpàgbé oníkànnì o bí ẹ bá sùn ẹ gbé ọjọ́ ayọ̀ súnmọ́lé o.
Bí a bá kú tí a bá jí a ó mẹ́ni rè fẹ́ràn ẹni bá ṣàìsàn wò ni yóò lè mọyì àlàáfíà bí a bá ṣaláìní ká tó wá ní a ó mọyì bàbá ń fojoojúmọ́ jẹun ata ó dífá fún Yorùbá tí í ṣe ọmọ Odùduwà bàbá mi òkè gàgàgà tí í ṣe lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ lẹ́yìn aṣòótọ́ Ọ̀yọ́ Ìbàdàn Oǹdó Ìjẹ̀ṣà Ilé Ifẹ̀ o.
wá ohùn alóore Odùduwà ló ń pè.
Àkúrẹ́ Ọ̀wọ̀ Ìkàrẹ́ Ẹ̀yìn Èkìtì ẹ gbóhùn ìpè o.
wá ohùn alóore Odùduwà ló ń pè.
Ìbàràpá Ilé Ẹ̀gbádò Ẹ̀yìn Ọ̀ṣun ẹ gbóhùn ìpè o.
wá ohùn alóore Odùduwà ló ń pè.
Ẹ̀yin Ìjẹ̀bú ọmọ Àlárẹ̀ ẹ̀yin Ẹ̀gbá ọmọ Lísàbí.
wá ohùn alóore Odùduwà ló ń pè o ẹ̀yin ọmọ Yorùbá ọjọ́ ayọ̀ súnmọ́lé o.
tó mo kórílé mo kàlejò mo kí gbogbo ojú tó ń wò mí káàkiri gbogbo ayé mo mà kí yín pé ẹ kú dédé àsìkò yìí ẹ ṣeun tẹ́ ẹ tún gbà mí lálejò ní inú ilé yín lónìí ẹ̀rín pẹ̀rín ni mo rí torí pẹ̀rín báyìí náà la máa bá nínú ilé wa lágbára Olódùà ọba òkè ẹ wá nǹkan fìdílé àbí kẹ́ ẹ fìdílé kan o kẹ́ ẹ jájọ gbádùn ètò tòní látòrí ìkànnì bàbá gbàgede ìmọ̀ TV BGI TV tá a sọ̀kalẹ̀ gbà sí ìlú Abẹ́òkúta ètò kan ètò tí ṣojú ọmọ Yorùbá káàkiri ayé tí a pè ní Yorubanation now òun náà ni ẹ̀ ń wò lójú ìwòran yín yìí o mo dúpẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ Olódùmarè ọba tó dá mi ọba lónìí ọba lánàá ọba lọ́jọ́ gbogbo Ọlọ́run ọba òun náà ló ṣàánú èmi àti yín tó tún jẹ́ ká tún máa ríra wa lónìí àwọn kan wà tí wọ́n ti torí wọn gbé dígà tó torí wọn gbé ṣọ́fẹ̀ táyé ti kọlẹ̀ tí wọ́n ti gbé gbìn ẹ wá wò èmi àti yín bọ́lọ́ ń ṣèṣì ṣàánú wa mímọ̀ ṣe wa kọ́ o Ọlọ́run kàn sì ṣàánú wa ni yóò kà wá náà ńjọ́ kan àmọ́ lọ́wọ́ yìí tiwa sì tọ́pẹ́ ẹ jẹ́ a jọ dúpẹ́ fọ́lọ́run ẹ má jẹ́ ká bópò lọ́lé olóró ẹ má jẹ́ ká sọ iléyá ká má sọ dìlé pẹ́ ní pápápá ẹ jẹ́ á lọ sí agbada ibi tí a fẹ́ mọ̀rọ̀ lọ lónìí ẹ̀rí pẹ̀rín ni mo fi wọlé ọ̀rọ̀ wa tẹ̀rín ni ọmọdé ń pariwo àgbà ń pariwo látijọ́ yìí wá àwọn olóṣèlú ṣe bí ẹni pé kú sì tó kà wọn bá pa gbogbo wa tán nílẹ̀ Nàìjíríà kó kọ́ àwọn àmọ́ tó yà wá lẹ́nu ni pé nígbà tó di àná òde yìí ìjọ Monday lọ̀rọ̀ yìí ti kọ́ bẹ̀rẹ̀ àmọ́ wàá gbọ́ ìròyìn ẹ̀ ní alẹ́ àná. ṣé ẹ gbàgbé pé àwọn ìjọ kan wà àwọn àjọ kan wọ́n wà ní ilẹ̀ Haúsá tí wọ́n sọ fún ìjọba pé wàhálà táwọn ẹni yìí ṣe Yorùbá àti Yíbò wàhálà tó ń fà lẹ́sẹ̀ yìí tó bá mà dípò di wàhálà rẹpẹtẹ tán Nàìjíríà yóò mà ní fararọ ẹ ṣe dá wọn lóhùn tó fẹ́ ṣe rántí ìgbà náà ìjọba kọ̀ kò dáhùn àmọ́ àwọn àjọ ìgbéjọba lọ ilé ẹjọ́ ń gbà náà wípé Yorùbá àti Yíbò tọ́ làwọn fẹ́ referendum ṣé bí referendum túmọ̀ sí pé kí wọ́n dìbò ṣé wọ́n sì fẹ́ dúró sílẹ̀ Yorùbá ṣé ń gbọ́ kọ́ńtì Yorùbá ló fẹ́ ń gbọ́ ṣé Nàìjíríà ló fẹ́ ń tọ́ pè ní referendum rèé wọ́n ní kí gọ́ọ̀mẹ̀ntì conduct ẹ̀ ẹ̀rù sì ń bàjọba pé bàbá ní ká ṣe bí mo fẹ́ lọ tó bá lọ pọ̀ ju mo fẹ́ dúró ńkọ́ òyìnbó kan ní there is no just ruler that we want his territory to be divided kò sí olórí dáadáa kan tí ó fẹ́ kí wọ́n pèlú mọ́ òun lórí ìtumọ̀ òwe tí mo parí nítorí ìdí èyí àwọn tí wọ́n wà níjọba rò pé bàbá la ṣe memorandum referendum yìí fáwọn ẹni bí mo fẹ́ lọ bá lọ pọ̀ ju mo fẹ́ dúró ńkọ́ kí ni ká ṣe làwọn àjọ yìí bá gbéjọba lọ sí ilé ẹjọ́ àmọ́ ẹ̀hún tó wá mú mi rẹ́rìn wọlé gan rèé gbogbo ariwo tí ọ̀tún ń pa tó sì ń pa tí Yíbò lóun fẹ́ lọ tí Yorùbá lóun fẹ́ lọ tàwùsá náà níbẹ̀ wá máa lọ ẹ máa lọ àtúndádúró gbogbo ẹ̀ ilé ẹjọ́ mà ti gbọ́ gbogbo wàhálà Sunday Igboho látijọ́ yìí gbogbo wàhálà Bánjí Akíntóyè látijọ́ yìí gbogbo wàhálà gbogbo àwọn tí wọ́n ń sọ̀rọ̀ tí wọ́n agitate fún Yorùbá nation látijọ́ yìí tó ṣe ká sọ pé ilẹ̀ ti mọ́ ní báyìí àbí ká lásìkò tó torí pé láti 2020 lèmi ti ń gbọ́ referendum tíjọba kọ̀ tí ò ṣe tẹ́ ẹ̀ bá gbàgbé ńgbà náà wọ́n fún ìjọba ní gbèdéke àsìkò kan àwọn bàbá Bánjí Akíntóyè ńgbà náà wọ́n kọ lẹ́tà ìjọba ò rí tí wọ́n rò wọ́n tún kọ́ ìjọba ò tún rí tí wọ́n rò 2020 ni mò ń sọ yìí àmọ́ mo láyọ̀ láti sọ fún wa lónìí pé pẹ̀lú ògo Ọlọ́run ilé ẹjọ́ mà ti dáhùn ilé ẹjọ́ ti fíìsì October 20 wípé finally àfi kíjọba conduct referendum lóòótọ́ fún Yorùbá nation àti Biafra nation. Referendum yìí máa dàbí ibi ìbò ni ṣé Yorùbá fẹ́ lọ lóòótọ́ ṣé Yíbò fẹ́ lọ ẹ bá lè fẹ́ dúró lẹ̀ Nàìjíríà kàn múyàn sí èyí ó tíìkì pé Nàìjíríà ni mo fẹ́ ṣé Yorùbá country ló fẹ́ èyí ó tíìkì Yorùbá country mo fẹ́ nítorí pé referendum rẹ̀ ló ṣe jẹ́ pé ẹ ṣe rí àwọn ẹni tó bá wo fídíò tí mo ṣe lánàá ẹnjìníà àti fídíò yẹn bá wà máa bá mi ṣó ẹ̀ lásán má fi ọ́díò sí lẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe máa rí àwọn ọmọ àwọn tí wọ́n jẹ́ ọmọ Yorùbá ojúlówó tí wọ́n ń lọ láti ìlú kan sí ìlú kan látàbúlé kan sábúlé kan láti gbèríko sí gbèríko tí wọ́n lọ ń educate àwọn èèyàn tí wọ́n lọ ń ṣèdánilẹ́kọ̀ọ́ fún wọn ìdí tí Yorùbá fi gbọ́dọ̀ dá dúró mo fi síta lánàá lórí fídíò tá a ṣe lánàá àwọn táwọn ẹni yìí ṣe àwọn ìdánilẹ́kọ̀ọ́ yìí ibi tí ó wúlò sí rèé o àsìkò tí ó wúlò rèé nígbà tíjọba bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ lóòótọ́ tí wọ́n bá conduct tá à ń pè ní referendum ó parí ìṣẹ́gun dé ẹnjìníà máa bá mi gbé sí tó bá rí tó bá wá rí fi sílẹ̀ lánàá ó ní mo gbọ́rọ̀ yẹn mo wo news yẹn inú mi dùn torí pé bó ti ṣe ń jáde bọ̀ láti court ó ní wọ́n interview lọ́ọ̀yà yẹn lọ́ọ̀yà yẹn sì sọ gbogbo ohun tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ bó ṣe yẹ kó rí báwọn ṣe bó ṣe máa rí as at October 20 ìdẹ̀ra dé, solution dé. Ẹ̀yin náà já wo bí ìlú ṣe rí. Ó ò lè rìn kọ́kàn ẹ balẹ̀ mọ́ àfi kó lè dùn ọgbà ni. Wọ́n wọlé èèyàn lọ gbé èèyàn níbi tá a bàyé jẹ́ dẹ́sìn. Wọ́n á wọnú ilé lọ gbé èèyàn. Wọ́n á sì pẹ́ bí ẹni iye báyìí láwọn fẹ́ gbà wá sanwó báyìí bó ò bá san wá pa onítọ̀hún ẹlòmíì ò tún ní lọ́kì náà tán gbé. Wọ́n á gbé tán wọ́n á pa wọ́n á sì tún gbowó lọ́wọ́ àwọn ẹbí ẹ̀. Ìgbọ́n bá gbowó tán lẹ́bí máa lọ rókù ẹ̀ ń ta ibi tí wọ́n jù sí. Tó à ń witness ní Nàìjíríà rèé, pàápàá jùlọ nílẹ̀ Yorùbá. Inú fu ẹ̀dọ̀ fu lọmọ Yorùbá wà báyìí. Ẹ jẹ́ sáré bá wọn dé kóòtù yẹn ká gbọ́ bí iṣu ṣe kú àti bọ́bẹ̀ ṣe bẹ́ ní kóòtù l'Àbújá nígbà tí wọ́n pàtó adájọ́ pàpàdájọ́ pé by October 20 finally àwọn bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní sọ̀rọ̀ lórí referendum tí Yorùbá àti Ìgbò fẹ́ gbà ní pàápàá. Ẹja sáré bá wọn dé kóòtù náà ká gbọ́n tí wọ́n mú bọ̀ ó yá o.
The coalition of northern groups had in June last year taken the National Assembly and the Attorney General of the Federation to court, seeking to stop the constitution review exercise and in its place conduct a referendum to determine who remains part of Nigeria. Over the months, various ethnic groups filed applications for joinder as interested parties. At today's proceedings, the presiding judge, Justice Inyang Ekwo, joined all the interested parties in the suit and subsequently fixed October 20th for hearing.
What the plaintiff are asking for in the first place is an opportunity for all Nigerians to be given the chance to decide whether they want to stay in Nigeria or not. It's their rights. And we actually called for that. We felt by the provisions of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, every citizen of any African country has a right to say he's no longer interested in remaining in that country, not just Nigeria.
The Council for the Igbo Nation speaks on the reason for joining the suit.
It's a very good day for the country, Nigeria. Why do I say so? Because today you can see the courts in its magnanimity granted all the motion for joinder, and we are now properly joined. The Igbo Nation is now properly joined in this matter. Yes, is that there should be that they should allow this the citizens of this country, the nationality of this country, to conduct a referendum to determine whether they will continue to remain in this country as one entity, or whether they will go their separate ways. That is our main prayer in this suit.
However, the Ijaw Nation has a contrary view.
The Ijaw Nation is not and has never been and can never be part of the Biafran Republic. If there is any republic we should have or are entitled to, is the Ijaw Republic and not Biafran Republic. So we need to be joined to assert our territories that have been forcefully incorporated into the Biafran map. We want a nation of our own called the Ijaw Republic, where we can administer our resources.
According to the coalition of northern groups, their suit is to stem what they call the tide of violence being allegedly done by the agitation for the secession. The Ijaw Nation has a contrary view.
The Ijaw Nation is not and has never been and can never be part of the Biafran Republic. If there is any republic we should have or are entitled to, is the Ijaw Republic and not Biafran Republic. So we need to be joined to assert our territories that have been forcefully incorporated into the Biafran map. We want a nation of our own called the Ijaw Republic, where we can administer our resources.
According to the coalition of northern groups, their suit is to stem what they call the tide of violence being allegedly done by the agitation for the secession.
All right, guys, this issue of referendum has been one of the controversial issues in Nigerian politics today. And several organizations or groups have been canvassing for it very seriously. The first one was the Biafran agitators, and then we now have Oduduwa agitators. So they have been saying that according to United Nations Charter on Human Rights and also African law, it is enshrined in both African and United Nations law that you have the right to self-determination. You can choose where you want to come from. So, and that is why you heard this lawyer. That's why you heard that lawyer said that it's a very good development, because number one, it is going to redefine Nigeria geopolitically. Because now look at all the ethnic group that came together, that was brought together during the amalgamation by Britain to become one Nigeria. It was out of their consent. Their consent was never sought. But and you can imagine all of the problems that have arisen from this amalgamation. We have never been one, and this is one of the technique of divide and rule. It's a technique, divide and rule. And Britain have used this technique to allow a particular ethnic minority, because the Fulanis today are the minority, but they seem to be ruling Nigeria right from inception. So it has come to be revealed. The reason why Britain allowed this is so that they can always have upper hand, or they can always have their way in Nigeria. And we see what is happening today. We see what is happening today. We see the massive looting in our oil industry, in our resources, all the corruption. After all these politicians loot all this money, where do they take them to? They take them to Britain, because Britain have authorized them. Bring the money to Britain. We'll give you cover. We'll do. I mean, it's just so disheartening. So, guys, another thing again. Let's look at this. Could this be real? Because you see, this situation like this in Nigerian law, agitation is not allowed. In Nigerian law, as a nation, referendum is not allowed. So we are waiting to see what court is going to judge. Court have already fixed, I think, is it 20th of October, for this judgment to decide, to determine if there's going to be referendum or not. Another thing again, take note, this is just a court of law. We have the appeal court and we are up to the Supreme Court. And this is going to drag for more than 2 years or so. You see, politics might come in, because there are some people who don't want a referendum, so they're going to fight it. For instance, if the federal government loses, because this is a court, a jurisdiction of power in Nigeria that is given out, that's going to, let's assume the court say, okay, let the referendum be organized by the federal government. Will the federal government just wake up and accept it? They may not accept it. They might appeal the ruling. You see, they might appeal the ruling, and after appealing the ruling, I mean, they will, if it doesn't favor them again, they might go to Supreme Court. And of course, Buhari has his chief.
Èrò tó ń lọ sókè òkun ẹ̀yìn dà. Ságbàsúlà àti máa wálé iṣẹ́ tó kójú òṣùwọ̀n láti bá ní ṣètò ìwé ìrìnnà ní kókó. Ọpẹ́ o! Ṣíṣe ìwé ìrìnnà dìrọ̀rùn ká bá ní ṣètò ilégbèé fún ìgbádùn àkókò ìsinmi lẹ́nu iṣẹ́, ìrìn àjò afẹ́ fún àwọn akẹ́kọ̀ọ́, lílọ sí Mẹ́kà òun Jerúsálẹ́mù, ó fẹ́ lọ kàwé lókè òkun, iṣẹ́ kíkọ́ lókè òkun àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Force Excellent Able Travels and Tours Limited wọ́n gba òǹtẹ̀ lọ́dọ̀ ìjọba pẹ̀lú àwọn àjọ elétò ìrìn àjò ojú òfurufú. Force Excellent Able Travels and Tours Limited àwọn gan lọ́ba láti bá wa dòwò pọ̀. Ẹ lè pe 09055052472. ẹ sì lè tẹ àtẹ̀ránṣẹ́ sórí +639-174-163-562. wọ́n wà ní nọ́mbà 45 Shokenway Òkè Ìjẹun Abẹ́òkúta ní ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn. ẹ lè kàn sí www.excellenttravels.com.ph. Force Excellent Able Travels and Tours Limited. ìrìn àjò dìrọ̀.
ẹ rí pé nǹkan kì í síbẹ̀ ẹsẹ̀ ràgó. Ìjọba fẹ́ o, wọ́n kọ̀ o, ilé ẹjọ́ ti sọ pé ó di dandan kí wọ́n ṣe tá à ń pè ní referendum, kí wọ́n conduct ẹ̀ fún àti Yorùbá tí ń bínú àti Ìgbò tí ń bínú, kódà àti ìjọ àwọn South tí wọ́n ń bínú. Ó di dandan kí wọ́n ṣe, kódà lọ́wọ́ yìí àwọn middle belt náà láwọn náà join. nínú bẹ́ẹ̀ tí ní ẹ má kà wọ́n kúnlẹ̀ haúsá o bí irú àwọn Kogi Benue àwọn kọ̀ọ̀kan ní pé kán má kà wọ́n kúnlẹ̀ haúsá rárá wọn láwọn náà ti join group yẹn kí ló tún wá kù ẹjẹ́ àfọwọ́lẹ́rán ká máa wo kí ni ó ṣẹlẹ̀ nítorí pé aago ló máa padà dé adìyẹ gbẹ̀yìn ṣẹ́ni gbogbo tí wọ́n ń ṣe yìí gbogbo eré tó lóṣèlú ń sá lọ́tún lósì eré pajúdé àsápajúdé tí wọ́n ń sá yìí ẹ rí i pé iná ilé oko ilẹ̀ yòókù wọn yóò padà súngbẹ̀yìn ilé iná ilé báyìí ni ehoro wọn yà nígbẹ̀yìngbẹ̀yìn wọ́n padà bọ̀ wá bá wa ní tó dèmi lójú ni torí wọ́n fẹ́ẹ́ fìdí kàtà náà ní tí ó ti ẹ̀yà mi lẹ́nu tí mò ń gbọ́ léde lẹ́nu ẹnìkan ni pé haúsá ni tí mò ń gbọ́ lẹ́nu ẹ̀ ni pé òun náà presidential candidate ni o ṣùgbọ́n láti fi lè yé wa pé tá a bá ṣọ́ra gbogbo àwọn tí wọ́n pariwo kiri wọ́n fẹ́ẹ́ fi àtàyí wọn nídìí náà torí mò ń gbọ́ tó ń sọ pé kò sẹ́ni lè sọ táwọn bá tẹ̀ máa gbé fún sáùtù rárá ilẹ̀ yíbò lọ́kàn súnkàn àwọn dáàdì wa tán wá sáré kiri àwọn bọ̀dá wa tán sáré kiri tó jẹ́ ilẹ̀ haúsá ni wọ́n ru owó ńláńlá lọ kí ló wá fẹ́ gbẹ̀yìn wọn èrè wọn náà fẹ́ bá bọ̀ bẹ̀ ṣèbí gbọ̀n bá tẹ́ bọ̀ ó dè mí lójú pé wọ́n padà bọ̀ lé ẹ mọ̀ pé tíyà bá jẹ ọmọ nígboro tíyà bá jẹ ọmọ níta ilé ní padà bọ̀ bí ò bá tẹ́tọ́ lù lálùbami níta á sunkún wálé ni bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ló ṣe rí fún wọn iná ilé báyìí lè horo wọn padà yẹ gbẹ̀yìn wọ́n ń bọ̀ arákùnrin kan tí mo nífẹ̀ẹ́ sí kí n máa sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀ ní gbogbo ìgbà lọ́ọ̀yà ni lọ́ọ̀yà gidi tó jẹ́ pé ó ka oṣù àwọn ń tẹ̀lé bàbá Fálànà lẹ́yìn ni ojúpọ̀nà ẹsẹ̀ bàbá Fálànà ni wọ́n sì gbẹ́sẹ̀ lé lọ́ọ̀yà yìí ó sọ̀rọ̀ ilẹ̀kùn lórí wípé ó di dandan àwọn tá à ń sọ yìí èmi ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ mọ̀ báyìí ni pé gbogbo wàhálà wa kì í ṣe tí ó jà sásán ó ṣẹ̀ dá mi lójú ni pé olóyìnbó á ní there is light at the end of the tunnel òdodo ni pé ní ìgbẹ̀yìn ọ̀rọ̀ ìmọ́lẹ̀ wà ń bẹ̀ ṣe mọ̀ pé lẹ́yìn òkùnkùn biribiri ìmọ́lẹ̀ á padà tàn òun ni bàbá yìí kọ mọ́nú orin ẹ̀ pé lẹ́yìn òkùnkùn biribiri ìmọ́lẹ̀ á tàn ẹ jẹ́ ká pe Olódùmarè ọba tó dá wa sáyé ohun gangan ni tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ yìí ẹ jẹ́ ká gbọ́rọ̀ lẹ́nu lọ́ọ̀yà yìí ká gbọ́ nǹkan táwọn náà sọ lórí ọ̀rọ̀ kan ṣo tá a ṣe ń sọ yìí mò ń padà bọ̀.
Let's go away from the Deborah issue. Eventually, we'll probably still revert back to it. The Nigerian political circus has actually continued to ridicule the country among the Committee of Nations in recent times. And the president, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, is again allowing Nigeria to drift like a rudderless ship. And his distraction and aloofness continue to encourage officials to act with impunity. You've actually mentioned the fact that this government is actually run on impunity. Now, let's get your perspective. I know you do not like to talk about individuals or personalities. Let's look at the hordes of politicians jostling for their presidential tickets of their parties. What are your views about this?
You know, you started the question, and that was why I was jotting down furiously. I wanted to be sure to deal with it. You spoke about how Nigeria is being ridiculed in the international community. I beg to disagree. We've gone beyond the ridiculous in the international community. I imagine that by now, when the international community is looking for its punchlines in its jokes, we must be the poster boys for punchlines. Because let's face it, what is it about us that is not absurd? What is it really? Think about it. Seriously, let's think about it. We're a nation burning gas, but we do not have electricity. We produce crude. We once were the 6th largest. I don't know what we are now because they steal everything. Nobody has any data any longer. So once upon a time, we were the 6th largest producer, but we import our fuel needs. And you think they are not seeing us as objects of ridicule already? They see how the sybaritic monkeys ruling us. They see how they steal money like mindless fools and pack it into their banks abroad, and you think they don't already ridicule us? We are already the objects of ridicule, not just in the Western world. We're a reproach even in Africa. I once used to enjoy my trips around Ghana, Gambia, where I have some friends. It used to be fun to travel around in Africa. They used to look to us with hope. These days, I stopped traveling in the West Coast since this Buhari man came. My trips to the West Coast have been few and far between because I see the sense of repulsion with which we are treated. We're already a reproach amongst nations. That's the truth. The even these fools, they don't carry our green passports outside our shores. They carry, if they are not carrying Grenadian passports, they are always this one Caribbean island passport or British passport or American passport. They don't carry it. We've become a reproach. So you are talking about ridiculing us. Yorubas have a proverb. They say, they are looking at us and they are crying on our behalf, and we are looking at ourselves and we are adjusting our clothes, laughing at ourselves. Our reality is that there is nothing about us that is not ridiculous or absurd. So let's leave what the international community thinks about us. Let's even focus on what we should be seeing when we look at ourselves. So speaking to the candidates, let me just say this. Personnel changes will not save Nigeria. You can change personnel all you care. If you like, in fact, the most ridiculous thing now is that they are going to bring somebody, they themselves branded a failure, and they are telling us that that's the new Messiah. It tells you the depth of the ridiculous that issues forth from Nigeria. It's become the theater of the absurd. So when you realize that the quality of discussion about what comes after Buhari is about whether Jonathan should be the one to follow him, it tells you instantly that we are headed for the cliff. Because number one, you do not repair a damage like Buhari. If you are saying that you are coming after Buhari to repair Nigeria, you are already a failure. Because Buhari is an irreparable disaster. You actually have to reimagine Nigeria completely. You have to look at Nigeria, recognize the fact that you are beholding a wreckage, and then reimagine it, and then sell what you have seen, your new vision for the wreckage that you have to rebuild. Sell it to the people so that you can galvanize them behind that vision to rebuild the country. I am an incurable believer in the capacities of the Nigerian people to rebuild this country and make it what it can be. But you can't do it on personnel changes. So all these people jostling to become the president of Nigeria, there are a couple of them who speak to ideas. Those ones, I'm watching, I'm listening. When the time comes, we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. But frankly speaking, no personnel change is going to save Nigeria. It's going to be a root and branch reorganization and restructuring of its entire governance systems, the way it approaches things, and it must then be anchored on law.
But isn't it contradictory, DF, that for us to attain that, I mean, these kind of changes you're talking about, this structural governance change, wouldn't a personnel change come to the fore? I mean, consider the fact that regardless of your overall opinion about all of them, are you saying there is none that has the qualifications to actually bring about these structural changes you're talking about?
You misunderstand me when you phrase the argument in those terms. What I am saying is this. Systems are driven by persons. I will not argue against that. But I am saying that anybody who is seeking power under this system and who is genuine about seeking change or changes, the kind of changes that are required to take Nigeria on the path of rectitude, the person has to be upfront with the people. Anyone who does not place his alternative vision of Nigeria on the ballot, but is telling you that when I get there, I will do it, is a liar. You need to place your restructuring plan on the ballot. The people need to be galvanized behind it, because without galvanizing the people behind any such plan, you cannot get this National Assembly to do anything. It will not. So you need to put your plan before the people prior to the election, making the restructuring plan part of your manifesto and making it an issue on the ballot. Let the people vote in. Because when we talk about restructuring plan, people tend to imagine that all we're dealing with is that we're talking about, okay, so we restructure our country to so many regions, allow state police. No, it can't end there. There is no restructuring that is complete without accountability. Some people have stolen Nigeria blind. There must be restitution. There must be serious truth and reconciliation. People must come clean. They must give up what they have stolen. The rule of law must be reinstituted. So it's not, that's why I'm saying that you have to reimagine Nigeria after Buhari. You cannot repair the damage. It's been damaged irreparably. As corrupt as you might believe the PDP to have been, and I believe them to have been one horribly corrupt lot, what Buhari has done is that Buhari has brought the entirety of the argument back into focus, because now we know that there are no differences in their groups. Whether they are in APC or they are in PDP, the one denominating factor is that they still equally. And now Buhari has shown us that they are one and the same. The reality is that you cannot be speaking to an anti-corruption battle any longer, because there is no, the problem of Nigeria is not corruption, it is impunity. Nothing will happen. During Jonathan, did you see money shared did you see anybody fainting in the National Assembly? And yet he was the clueless one. He was the one who was said to be the most corrupt in the world. Nobody was fainting in the National Assembly in the PDP years. They were not offering mics. You didn't see persons already facing charges for corruption appointed into the federal cabinet as corrupt as the PDPs were. So what has happened under Buhari is that corruption has been revealed as not being the problem. The problem is impunity. Nothing will happen as long as you are one of us. And Oshio Mole told all of us now, he said, join us and your sins will be forgiven. So these things are clear. We're the ones who usually refuse to see it. There are no laws in Nigeria. Impunity governs Nigeria. So if we're going to be talking about candidates, it has to be candidates talking about issues. Those are the ones that can change anything. A candidate that is coming to talk to me about the economy, will make the economy better, nonsense. The economy is the way it is because of the impunity that governs Nigeria. That's why you see that Labalaba that is inside the CBN calling himself a Mefiele, that will be coming out to say he wants to be president, and everybody else becomes jokes. That's why you are seeing that, because impunity governs Nigeria. So understand it for what it is. Once you understand that we are not dealing with a law and order situation, we are dealing with a situation where we're talking impunity. It operates at different levels of governance, different levels, states, local government, even your gate man. Everybody operates the level of impunity they can get away with because Nigeria is not ruled by law.
I mean, talking about which is an issue, I mean, it took the impunity to another level completely.
How do you mean?
I mean,
did he kill anyone? He hasn't killed anyone. Now, some people killed people at the toll gate, nothing happened. An entire state government disobeyed the court order and kept collecting toll gate money. So what did the Emefiele do? We just have this sense of selective outrage where we pick on the things to be outraged by. The reality is that Nigeria is governed by impunity, pure and simple.
But it starts from the top.
Sorry?
It starts from the top.
Where else? Look.
So what you asserted, sir, is that Buhari has institutionalized impunity.
Buhari has revealed it. It has always been there. But it was administered by more discreet persons who cared for public opinions. Buhari simply does not care for what you think about him. So in his own case, he might not be as diplomatic with the use of impunity as the likes of Obasanjo or Goodluck Ebele himself. All of them, Nigeria cannot be governed by law. If you govern Nigeria by law, everybody who purports to rule Nigeria will be in jail. Everybody who sits in the Council of State meeting will be in jail. Some people sanctioned what happened at the toll gate. Those were murders. You don't even know how many citizens were murdered. So when we are talking about, that's not a place ruled by law.
Let me quote one of your recent statements. You said when it's time for elections, in one of your recent interviews, that when it's time for elections, the people are already disconnected from the process because of their disenfranchisement with the process. How do we get out of the wood when Nigerians themselves have been pauperized, have been disenfranchised, are disoriented with this level of impunity? How do we get out of the woods?
See, it is easier to despair in Nigeria than to hope. It is actually much easier to despair because to continue to express faith in the Nigerian enterprise would be to truly have to exercise faith. Faith is not based on any substance. You have faith in anything simply because you believe. You almost always can never substantiate faith. And that is the situation with the Nigerian enterprise. If anything, it is easier to believe that Nigeria is either dead or dying. That is the reality of the Nigerian situation today. However, we must also know that it is not beyond our capacity. Humans have challenges. It's the normal thing in all human life, every aspect of our lives. Our national life should not be an exception where we are incapable of thinking our way through it. It is obvious that where we are, I've said it before, is not normal. Nigeria is approaching an inflection. In fact, it's already at an inflection point. And it is up to those, see, the people I really want to speak with, those who need to be hearing me, they are not going to watch these videos. It is those who might have watched these videos who can understand what is being said, who have to take on the duty of talking to the average Joe on the street. Nigeria has two choices in front of it as we approach 2023. Nigeria is going to either end up making effective use of PVC. It's not just the people themselves. INEC would have to decide, when I say INEC, the individuals at INEC would have to decide that they are going to be facilitators of democracy and not roadblocks and or impediments to the enfranchisement of Nigerians. The police, who are not immune from all of this, would also have to decide that they are going to be impartial for once in their lives, because this is a make or mar election, assuming we are able to have one. Because when we start talking about elections, that's how bleak our situations are right now. We need to help the people to connect to the issues, but we must not hesitate to point out very clearly that the key issue that has to be decided by these elections, our PVCs, is the structure of Nigeria. Is how Nigeria is going to be governed going forward. Is how Nigeria will look in the not too distant future. There is a urgent need to restructure this country. It is up to each and every one of you who watches. Speak to those that will not have the benefit of watching, or if they watch, they might not even understand my own Dogon Turenchi that I am speaking. It is up to you to understand the issues and then help the people to understand that you can't be voting for persons in this election. You have to vote for ideas. But more importantly, in the coming election, you want the people to get involved. You have to localize the elections. It can't always be about the presidency. We can't be talking about the presidency to the exclusion of the states. Who are your state governors? What are they doing for you? Are they serving you? What are they doing in the areas of education, in the areas of healthcare delivery, agriculture, infrastructure development? I live in Lagos. I intend to be involved in the coming elections. I'm not a politician, but I am going to make sure that I have a say as to who rules me going forward, assuming there will be elections. So it is our own understanding of the fact that if we ignore the process, we then enable the second one, which is why I said there are two parts in front of Nigerians. We can use our PVC and then deal with the Fulanis in our Sokoto and leave the Fulanis in Sokoto alone. That is at the level of our governorship elections, state houses of assembly, House of Reps, the Senate. Localize the elections. How have the people there, how have they served you? What are your issues? What are the issues you hold there? It's not about is Lagbaja or Temedu. At that level, maybe you would have your micro zonings. It's not impossible, I don't know. But the reality is that when you're dealing with localized elections, it becomes easier to gauge the effectiveness of the person that you are being asked to vote. If you are being asked to vote a governor, somebody is coming to me to ask me to vote for Jide Sanwo-Olu, I need to be able to tell me, okay, so Jide Sanwo-Olu, what has he done? It's an objective test. It's not campaign time, but you can count on me to be upfront in campaigning against that one. So those are the kind of issues that we should be dealing with in the coming elections. But when people conveniently ignore the fact that their governors, the choices of the governors, the choices of the persons in the state houses of assembly, even their local government chairmen, that those choices matter. When they ignore it and allow themselves to be distracted into looking at Abuja, as important as Abuja is, as important as the presidency might be, the most important elections are our local elections. And nothing should tell us this more than the current exposure to Buhari. The current crop of people governing in the southern part of Nigeria, their strategic interests are not opposed to those of the world. All the people shouting Yorubanation, they will still go and vote for people who kowtow to the persons they are fighting. The ones shouting Biafra, They will still vote governors, and sometimes they don't need to vote the governors. The judicial appointments are also there. So you have all but it is important that we focus on our local politics. Look at it. Before you vote, decide, have they served you well? So it is only when you localize it that you can get people to come out. But if you fail to do it with your PVC, the language of extremes, the guns, will sound, because this system is already unsustainable. We can find the courage to put the issues on the ballot. In that way, you make sure more people come out. You have, last election, you had 27 million or so voting in the presidential election, and that was at a time when the voters' roll was about 91 million. So you're talking about a situation where only a third, and that's with voters' inflation, it's not even up to a third voted. So imagine that we could double the number of voters in the coming election. Simply double the number of voters in the coming election. There is going to be a significant downstream effect when you do that. So that's what we need to be aiming for, so that we avoid legitimizing the extremes who will be looking to change this unsustainable system by force of arms.
Let me get this perspective from you. Some couple of weeks back, certain sections of the country and groups and individuals came together to have the Greater Nigerian Conference. And there was a resounding call for a southeastern presidency. We would like to get your response to this. Is it time, based on justice, fairness, and equity, for a southeastern presidency?
Let's get this clear. The only reason I am not out there campaigning to be the president of Nigeria today is because I believe that it is the turn of Ndi Igbo to be president of Nigeria. When I say I believe it is the turn of Ndi Igbo, number one, it is a painful statement for me to make, because in making that statement, I feel myself reduced to start dealing with tribes, ethnicities, ethno-religious sentiments. But I am left with no choice, because that is what Nigeria has reduced me to. In 1999, based on the grievances of the tribe from where I come, the Yorubas, Nigeria zoned the presidency to the southern part of Nigeria. I didn't read the history, I was there. I was part of the struggle for June 12th. I was still a student. And I knew I lived the history leading up to 1999. So it was a decision taken by the so-called owners of Nigeria to zone power to the south, and more specifically, they micro-zoned to the southwest. The choice of the Yorubas was definitely not Olusegun Obasanjo. We didn't want him. He lost the election in his polling booth. I doubt that he had up to 5% of the votes in his own local government. That was how much we reviled him. We knew him for what he was. We considered him a lackey of the North, and we rightly rejected him. But it didn't matter. Every other part of Nigeria voted for him, and he became the president of Nigeria in 1999. In 2007, after the failure of Obasanjo's third term agenda, power was zoned back to the north, and it went to the northwest, I believe. Yes, it went to Yaradua. The story of whether Obasanjo was aware of his e-health or not, that's another story for another day. But it went to the north because it was zoned to the north. In fact, there is a legend of how Odili was persuaded to withdraw from the primaries. So you are dealing with a situation where, as at 2007, power was ceded by zoning to the north. Unfortunately, Yar'Adua died when it pleased God to take him. May God rest his soul. And Jonathan happened on Nigeria. Jonathan spent a term in his own right, and then power went back to the north. And he's been in the north for the last 7 years. Now, by rotation, that power, and by equity, is due back in the south. Now, if this power now comes back to the south, there are three parts of the south. You've got the southwest, you've got the southeast, and you've got the south-south. Southwest have been president for 8 years, has been VP for 7 years. South-south has been VP for 2 years, president for 6 years. Southeast, zilch, nada. So where is the equity in anyone in the south talking about power coming to them outside of the southeast? Now, let us be clear about something. This is enlightened, selfish interest. It's not coming out of a love for Indigbo alone. I love my Indigbo brethren, but this is not just out of love for Indigbo. This is about the fact that what you tolerate is what becomes a culture. Nigeria was not designed to be the behemoth that it has become today. It was willfully, unilaterally restructured into the behemoth that it has become. That behemoth is the one that is demanding rotational presidency. Because if Nigeria had been left as the regions, federating regions that were agreed at independence, there will be no presidency for anybody to be running after. The people who unilaterally restructured Nigeria into the monster that it has become today do not have the moral or equitable right to expect to be part of the discussion about the presidential election next year. If the PDP or the APC presumes to throw open its presidential ticket, it is simply because neither are interested in equity, and both are feudalistic in the extreme and uninterested in justice. The justice of the situation demands that not only must power be ceded to the South, since they've turned it into a turn-by-turn, chop-by-chop enterprise, the equity demands that it goes to the Southeast. So for me, it is about the equity. I am unhappy that we have become the way we are, where the person comes from and not his competence is the primary consideration. But even if we are talking competence, Ndigbo has many people who are just as competent as any Fulani or any Yoruba.
This is good news to all. But first of all, write this number down. 1-845-293-8937. You will get through to Define Travels and Tour. They help you process and obtain USA work permit visa, tourism and visiting visa, vacation and cruises. Wow! The USA Work Permit Visa allows you to legitimately work anywhere in USA once you arrive. Interesting! Call Divine Travels and Tours, New York, USA on 1-845-293-8937 or send email to divinetravelstours5@gmail.com. Divine Travels and Tours is tested, trusted, and reliable.
Barrister Délé n tó ń bọ́ lẹ́nu ọkùnrin yẹn fún ẹni tó bá tẹ́tí sí dáadáa á rí i pé nǹkan kì í síbẹ̀ o ẹsẹ̀ ìràgó àmọ́ tó wá ṣe èmi ni pé ẹjọ́ ẹ bá wa bí àwọn ọba ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ẹ bá wa bí wọ́n léèrè n tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ yìí ń dùn mọ́ wọn ni tó fi jẹ́ pé bí ọ̀sẹ̀ tó kọjá sọ́sẹ̀ méjì la gbọ́ pé Buratai tó lé Ìgbòho dé Benin Republic tó lo gbogbo ẹsẹ̀ pé kí wọ́n gbé dé Nàìjíríà káwọn wá pa bí wọ́n bù ṣe gàdà nílùú kan lọ́ṣun wọ́n lọ fi Buratai jẹ balógun àbí olórí ológun àbí kí wọ́n fi jẹ́ lù yẹn láìpẹ́ yìí agbé news yẹn wá gbogbo aláriwo jẹjẹ mọ̀ kọ́ bá mi ìlénìí ó tún ti ń fi ànádá Fúlàní jẹ Sẹ́ríkì nínú ìlú ẹ̀ ẹni bá kúkú parọ́ ló máa lẹ́lẹ́rìí òun wà lálákejì bá a ṣe ń ké tó ìbá ṣe sọ tó yìí o arábí yóò rẹ́dì àwọn ọba yóò rẹ́dì láti gbọ́ rárá láìpẹ́ ìlólúwò ló lọ lẹ Haúsá ló lọ fẹ́ ọmọ wọn wálé wá sí kíndọ̀mù wò ọ̀dọ̀ ọmọ òwò ti tákù mi wọ́n ti ní kí iye sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ mọ̀ pé kì í ṣe lójú ayé àwọn lọ́mọbìnrin yẹn ṣe máa bọ́kùnrin tó máa ní ó wá jọba wípé àwọn tó máa jọba ti wà ńlẹ̀ well kò bá rí bẹ́ẹ̀ gbà náà ẹ mọ̀ pọ́dọ̀ ní Olúwo Ọlọ́run á sì jẹ́ kí adé ẹ̀pẹ́ lórí o kí bàtà ẹ̀pẹ́ lẹ́sẹ̀ o èmi ò sínú àbáwọn bọ́ba àmọ́ bọ́ba bá ṣe tó kù díẹ̀ kí àtò àwọn ò yọ kò mú òkú ẹ̀ fún láti fi hàn kábíyèsí ìtẹ́ ẹ ṣe ìkíni ká pè é ọba míì túbù ṣe gàdà báyìí ó tó ṣe fi Fúlàní jẹ Sẹ́ríkì o ẹ bá wa bí àwọn ọba ilẹ̀ Yorùbá léèrè ṣé gbogbo bí oníkálukú ṣe ń ké yìí bí wọ́n ṣe ń gbé igbá tó ń gbàwó tó ń jiyàn gbé kámọ́nú ilé lọ gbé kámọ́ ilé ìjọsìn lọ gbé kámọ́jà lọ gbé táwọn èèyàn tó rí bó ṣe wù wọ́n mọ́ ó dùn máwọn ọba yìí nú ni àbí kí ni ká pè é tá a sì màmọ̀ dájú pé Fúlàní ló ń ṣiṣẹ́ yìí lóòótọ́ Yorùbá ti jọ́yìn wọn o wọ́n ti ń fún wọn lọ́wọ́ àwọn èèyàn ti mú páàsì àwọn ẹgbẹ́ wọn lẹ̀ àgbọ̀n ti rí pé owó wà ń bẹ̀ bá ń gbé ọba yẹn sí kí gbogbo ayé tún rí o ọba míì tún rèé o.
ẹ tún bá wa wo invitation tá a tún grí yìí o ẹ̀yin èèyàn mi èèyàn ọmọ Oòduà àtàtà ẹ bá wa wò é tá a tún rí gbé wọlé yìí o látàdó Èkìtì ẹ bá wa wò ó kábíyèsí tún fẹ́ẹ́ fi mọ́là jẹ oyè o wọ́n fẹ́ẹ́ fi jẹ Sẹ́ríkì Haúsá wa torí Ọlọ́run kí ta ló kó bá wa ta láṣẹ wọ́n gbìyànjú kínní ní Ẹdó kò ṣeé ṣe wọ́n gbìyànjú lóńdó kò ṣeé ṣe Èkìtì ní tòun máa ṣeé ṣe ẹ bá wa wò ẹ bá wa pariwo síta eléyìí máa pọ̀ ju kí ló dé ká ló ṣépè fún kí ló dé torí Ọlọ́run ẹ mà gbà wá ẹ bá wa bá àwọn bàbá yìí sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ tún wo eléyìí o ẹ bá wa bá wọn sọ̀rọ̀ o ẹ má jà jókòó ẹ já pariwo o eléyìí ò bọ́ sí eléyìí ò dá o ẹ já pariwo síta ẹ já sọ̀rọ̀ sókè o ó lágbára o ẹ̀yin ọmọ Èkìtì ṣe máa wòran ní báyìí ẹ máa wòran ojú ò máa.
ní ìlú Adó Èkìtì lọ́ba yẹn ti fẹ́ fi jẹ Sẹ́ríkì Fúlàní Sẹ́ríkì gbogbo ìlú Adó Èkìtì ọba Yorùbá èmi gbé Kánò rí dáadáa ní tó dá mi lójú ni pé wọ́n bí ẹnìkan kú kó lóun kó ààfin sí Kánò kó wá lóòótẹ́ ìwò yìí o adèrè lórí ìrùkẹ̀rẹ̀ ní lọ́wọ́ o bàtàrí lẹ́sẹ̀ o ọba kẹ́ẹ̀pẹ́ èmi lọ́ba Yorùbá ní Kánò àpòòtò bẹ́ẹ̀ o ṣé bọ́lọ́ba kì í pé méjì láàfin ni kí ló wá dé ọ̀kẹ́rẹ́ tìlú Ṣakí nílùú Ọ̀yọ́ wọ́n fi Buratai jẹ láìpẹ́ ìgbógbó tíjọsẹ̀ mẹ́ta lọ Ajírógun àbí Jagunmólú lu Ṣakí lápapọ̀ ọmọ Fúlàní Jagunmólú gbogbo lu Ṣakí náà fi Buratai jẹ odindi ọba kan tún rèé o Ládó Èkìtì ló tún fẹ́ fẹ́ lòmíì tó jẹ yìí bá a ṣe ń kégbe tó yìí kò sí tó káwọn bá yẹn definitely referendum tó ní wọ́n fẹ́ tó máa conduct yìí tí wọ́n máa sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀ lọ́dún 20 October 20 ó dá mi lójú pé lára àwọn ọba Yorùbá kan wà tó máa sọ pé àwọn ò fẹ́ ẹ rí ẹ̀yẹn jẹ́ kó bẹ̀rẹ̀ a máa rí lára àwọn monarch ilẹ̀ Yorùbá àwọn balẹ̀ Yorùbá á rí lára wọn tí ó sọ pé àwọn ò fẹ́ kí Yorùbá gba freedom kásá wà lọ́ndà Fúlàní ká máa ṣẹrú lọ ṣé bí tí ìwà òdi ojú wa ò dẹ̀ fọ́ à ń gbọ́ gbogbo tí Fúlàní sọ pé àwọn làwọn nílẹ̀ àwọn fẹ́ gba gbogbo ilẹ̀ àwọn padà ní lọ́wọ́ ọ̀tá ni ṣé ẹ rántí yí àti wọ́n ti kọ́ tráyẹ̀ láyé Àfọ̀njá Ìlọrin kò bọ́ nínú ẹ̀dọ́lá o Ìlọrin kò bọ́ nínú ẹ̀ torí wọ́n ti kọ́ńkà lọ́rin ọ̀rẹ́dì tiẹ̀ wọ́n wá fẹ́ extend ẹ̀ sílẹ̀ Yorùbá ni wọ́n fi bẹ̀rẹ̀ látọ̀yọ́ ọpẹ́lọpẹ́ Ìbàdàn tó parí ogun yẹn sóṣogbo otherwise bí Ìlọrin ṣe rí ní gbogbo ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ìbárí ìtàn yẹn làwọn náà kà ni wọ́n padà tó wá fún rìfísítì yìí o lolóko ò ṣe lè lóko mọ́ ẹ lọ sí gbèríko káàkiri ẹ lọ béèrè àìmọye ẹni tó ń dáko tẹ́lẹ̀ tó bìkú mọ́ sí wọ́n á kidnap ẹ̀ mọ́kò ni àfi tó bá ká mọ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ tó bá jóbìnrin wá kọ́ rèpù ẹ̀ dáadáa ná wọ́n á ṣẹ̀ wá gbé lọ ìtò bá bá wọn lágídí wọn á pa síbẹ̀ dànù ẹ béèrè lọ́wọ́ àwọn mẹ́kọ ntójú wọn rí ẹ béèrè lọ́wọ́ àwọn ayétòrò ntójú wọn rí ẹ béèrè lọ́wọ́ àwọn ará Ìjẹ̀bú ntójú wọn rí ẹ wá béèrè lọ́wọ́ ará Abẹ́òkúta ntójú ẹ̀ rí Ogun State ni ẹ o ẹ lọ béèrè lọ́wọ́ àwọn Ọ̀yọ́ ẹ béèrè lọ́wọ́ àwọn Oǹdó the same Èkìtì tí bàbá yìí ti ń fi wọ́n jẹ sẹ́ríkì yìí o ẹ béèrè lọ́wọ́ wọn tójú wọn rí tí ó wá yẹ kó rí bẹ́ẹ̀ ẹgbọ́n kan tí Fárótìmí àbí kílẹ̀ délé yẹn ń jẹ́ ẹgbọ́n kan tó ń sọ mí ń fi bẹ́ẹ̀ dá òtún máa yẹn ó ní most of àwọn tí wọ́n ń polówó Yorubanation sí ó ní most of them are following these politicians which is correct ó ní púpọ̀ nù wọn ni wọ́n tún ń gbowó lọ́wọ́ àwọn olóṣèlú yẹn kí ló dé tí a lè jẹ́ kí ẹ̀mí wa sopọ̀ kí ló dé tá a lè béèrè fún tá a fẹ́ lẹ́ẹ̀kan ṣo ká kú òlòkù ẹrú àwọn ọmọ wa jáde léèwé tán wọn ríṣẹ́ fi ṣe òbí mi ló tún padà bọ́ ọmọ ẹ̀ ẹ lọ wo mọ àwọn tí wọ́n ṣe POS káàkiri 70% of them are graduates nígbà tó kú mọ̀ pé POS làwọn máa ṣe nígbèsí ayé àwọn kí náà lọ léèwé fún kí ló dé tó àkókò nígbègbè ọgbà jáde secondary school kóbi wọ́n dẹ̀ kan pákó fún wọn kó máa ṣe POS certificate Nàìjíríà sì kó o fi ṣiṣẹ́ kọ́ mọ́ kó o gbà kó o tọ́jú ẹ̀sìn lé ní kó o máa wá wò lójú ló dẹ̀ kù nísìn tí wọ́n bá graduate ọmọ 1 million out of 1 million 200 ló máa ríṣẹ́ tàbí 300 900 and 80 kìíní kan 1000 máa wà nílẹ̀ tí wọ́n ní ríṣẹ́ ṣe kí ló dé well good news ni pé wọ́n tiẹ̀ máa approve referendum fún wa àdúpẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ lọ ẹ jẹ́ kán ṣe kí awareness tí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ dẹ̀ create kan máa ṣe lọ bẹ́ẹ̀ tó bá yá mo mọ̀ pé tó bá yá tó lọ́wọ́ ẹlẹ́dàá bá ṣe tán láti gbèjà ẹ rí i pé solution àwa ẹ jẹ́ àfọwọ́ lẹ́rán ká dẹ̀ máa bẹ lọ́hùn ní tó dé mi lójú ni pé pẹ̀lú ògo ọlọ́run ọba àṣeyọrí la máa padà ṣe àṣeyè tálákànṣepo náà la padà ṣe tó oníyanṣẹ́ ọlọ́kà ṣe gbẹ̀yìn tí ẹ bá wa wo ètò yìí gbòyìn náà la dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí ẹ jẹ́ ká túbọ̀ máa fi àdúrà ran ilẹ̀ Yorùbá lọ́wọ́ October 20 kó má yẹ̀ lágbára lọ ọjọ́ náà ọjọ́ orí ọjọ́ ayọ̀ ọjọ́ ìdùnnú ni ó jẹ́ fún wa láyọ̀.
Oh, na, na, na. If you want to know what's going on in city, or you want to listen to the latest news and gist, no stress, oh, just tune to BGI TV. BGI TV, you're one in a million. Oh, na na na. If you want to know what's going on in city, or you want to listen to the latest